They say money talks, but in the world of the truly wealthy, it whispers. At a dinner table where fortunes have shaped empires and last names carry history, silence can speak louder than any boast. Here, conversations aren't about flexing success. They're about displaying poise, wit, and an effortless sense of belonging. And one wrong sentence, it can quietly close doors that millions can't reopen. Welcome back to the Luxury Lane, where we uncover the hidden rules, refined rituals, and unspoken elegance that define the world's most exclusive circles. If you've ever wondered what separates the polished grace of the wealthy from the anxious chatter of everyone else, stay with us, because today we're stepping into the world of high society dinner etiquette, a realm where words are chosen like fine wine. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing community of modern elites who believe true luxury isn't just about what you own, it's about how you carry yourself. 1. The unspoken power of the table. In high society, dinner isn't just a meal, it's a stage. Whether it's a private chateau in the French countryside, a yacht off Capri, or a Manhattan townhouse with baccarat chandeliers, every gathering is a silent test of composure and class. To the untrained eye, it might look like casual conversation, but to those who know, every comment, pause, and glance communicates social intelligence. The wealthy don't need to prove they belong. They demonstrate it through calm confidence, measured tone, and quiet restraint. The rule? Grace over dominance. While new money might feel compelled to impress, with luxury name drops, investment talk, or self-promotion, old money understands that attention is something to be earned, not seized. A subtle question, a genuine laugh, a simple compliment. These are the tools of someone who moves easily among the powerful. 2. The art of listening. In elite circles, being a great conversationalist doesn't mean talking the most. It means making others feel heard. A Forbes heiress once revealed that her grandfather taught her a single rule before she attended her first diplomatic dinner. Listen like every word is valuable, because to the right people, it is. The wealthy often master what psychologists call active curiosity, responding in ways that invite others to elaborate without dominating the conversation. For example, instead of, "That reminds me of my trip to Italy," they'll say, "That sounds fascinating. What part of Italy were you in?" Instead of rushing to fill silence, they'll use a soft nod or smile, showing that comfort with quiet is itself a form of confidence. This kind of restraint radiates refinement. It shows emotional control, a hallmark of class that can't be bought or faked. 3. Avoiding the forbidden topics. There's an old saying whispered at British country clubs: the moment you mention money, you prove you don't have enough of it. Among the wealthy, certain subjects are quietly banned at dinner, not because they're taboo in a moral sense, but because they reveal insecurity, vanity, or lack of awareness. The list includes personal income or investments, seen as gauche and self-centered; politics or religion, too divisive for an elegant setting; health complaints or gossip, both are viewed as tasteless and self-absorbed. Instead, the topics that thrive are culture, travel, art, architecture, books, and history, timeless subjects that reveal refinement rather than status. It's not about showing knowledge, it's about showing curiosity. A well-bred dinner guest doesn't flaunt expertise, they elevate others. In one memorable story from Palm Beach society, an heir to a major fortune once listened to a passionate discussion about antique furniture. Though he knew little about the topic, he asked thoughtful questions all evening. By the end of the night, the hostess described him as charming, intelligent, and delightful company. He never mentioned his wealth, and that's precisely why everyone remembered him. 4. Compliments and conversation. Alchemy. True elegance is knowing how to make others shine. Old money families often teach their children the subtle art of conversational generosity. It's the ability to give someone else the spotlight and do it so gracefully that it feels natural. Compliments are brief, sincere, and always tied to taste or intellect rather than appearance or possessions. For example, "You have such a fascinating perspective on history. I love how you describe that. It makes me want to visit myself. You always seem to know the most interesting things." What's absent is just as important. There's no flattery, no exaggeration, no forced praise. Because true refinement values authentic warmth over social theater. When done well, this creates what social psychologists call reciprocal elevation. Both people leave the exchange feeling uplifted, and that's the real secret. The wealthy don't use conversation to dominate, they use it to connect. 5. The subtle hierarchy of seating. At a formal dinner among the wealthy, nothing is left to chance, not even where you sit. Seating is an unspoken language of rank, respect, and relationships. Those closest to the host or hostess are the evening's honored guests, whether they're family, friends, or figures of influence. A discreetly chosen seat can build alliances, strengthen marriages, or quietly distance people whose egos might clash. In these circles, you never seat power next to power. The goal isn't dominance, it's harmony. A billionaire industrialist might be placed beside an art curator rather than another tycoon, because the conversation becomes richer, lighter, more cultured. It prevents business from polluting the tone of the evening. If you're ever invited to one of these dinners, watch closely. The host rises as each guest enters, offering introductions that bridge common ground. Guests wait until the host gestures before sitting. Conversations begin softly, never with business, politics, or self-congratulation. And here's something that might surprise you. The most respected person at the table isn't always the wealthiest. It's often the one who makes everyone else feel at ease, the person who listens, who includes, who never interrupts. That's real social power, calm influence wrapped in quiet charm. 6. Grace under pressure. At elite dinners, perfection isn't the goal. Composure is. There will be moments when a glass tips, a waiter errs, or a conversation takes an uncomfortable turn. But how the wealthy handle these moments determines everything. An old family matriarch from Boston once said, "Grace isn't who you are when the world applauds. It's who you are when the soup spills," and she was right. When accidents happen, old money doesn't scold or flinch. They smile, dab their napkin, and carry on as though nothing occurred. They're never the ones creating a scene. They're the ones calming it. That's because composure communicates security. When someone remains unbothered, it signals deep-rooted confidence, the kind that can't be shaken by spilled wine or awkward silence. Even in conversation, the same rule applies. If a guest makes a controversial remark, the refined response isn't confrontation, it's redirection. A light chuckle and a graceful pivot. That's one way to see it. But speaking of travel, have you seen how Florence is preserving its old architecture? In one smooth sentence, tension dissolves, dignity is preserved, and the dinner continues seamlessly. That's the magic of social grace. It turns potential friction into effortless flow. 7. Body language and the silent vocabulary of elegance. While words may reveal education, posture reveals breeding. At the tables of the elite, gestures are minimal, movements are controlled, and attention is always outward, toward the person speaking, not the phone in one's lap. Phones, by the way, are invisible. Even checking the time is seen as poor form. The moment you glance down, you announce to the room, something else matters more than you. The wealthy often master what etiquette coaches call stillness power. They maintain gentle eye contact, use soft hand gestures, and lean in just slightly, enough to signal interest without invading space. Their voices never rise in competition. They flow in calm, measured tones. This quiet energy creates what social anthropologists describe as status serenity. It's the aura of people so secure in who they are that they don't need to prove it. Interestingly, even laughter is refined. It's warm and genuine, but never loud or attention-seeking. It fills the air like a soft piano note, not a drum beat. 8. The conversational dance. At a high society dinner, conversation moves in rhythm, not unlike a waltz. Each exchange has its lead and follow, its pauses and returns. The wealthy are trained, often since childhood, to recognize these rhythms. For example, they rarely dominate discussions. They ask questions that invite others to shine, then gracefully step back. If they share a story, it's concise, witty, and ends before it overstays its welcome. You'll never hear them deliver long monologues or unsolicited advice. Instead, they might share an anecdote that subtly illustrates a value, perseverance, discretion, or gratitude, without sounding like a lecture. A London etiquette tutor once described it perfectly. Conversation is a shared gift, not a solo performance. The moment you perform, you lose the room. That's why true conversational grace lies in balance. Too much self-restraint makes you cold. Too much talking makes you forgettable. The goal is to engage just enough that others leave thinking, "That was delightful. I'd like to speak with them again." 9. Subtext and sophistication. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of how the wealthy converse is their mastery of subtext, saying much with little. Compliments are coded, opinions are wrapped in suggestion. You'll hear phrases like, "How interesting," which might mean I disagree but respect your view. That's quite something. Which might mean I wouldn't do that, but fascinating nonetheless. Or a gentle smile paired with silence, a universal cue that the topic is best left behind. This linguistic discretion keeps the tone elevated, prevents emotional missteps, and ensures that even disagreements retain elegance. The result? No drama, no gossip, no unnecessary exposure, just effortless conversation that feels light, graceful, and eternally civilized. 10. The art of subtle storytelling. If there's one thing that defines the truly elegant, it's their ability to tell a story, without ever making it about themselves. At a high society dinner, storytelling is a kind of art form. The wealthy understand that stories are not vehicles for ego, but for connection. Their tales often carry texture, a historical reference, a lesson learned, or a gentle hint of humor. They're told not to impress, but to entertain. Consider the difference between these two lines. I stayed at a private villa in Lake Como last summer, versus there's a small cafe near Lake Como where the owner still remembers your name after one visit. It's like stepping into another century. One reeks of status, the other paints the picture. Old money chooses the second because it invites imagination, not envy. They understand that in elite circles, charm comes from subtlety. The less they brag, the more others lean in. And when they do share personal success, it's almost always framed in gratitude or observation, never self-congratulation. We were so fortunate to meet people who showed us corners of the city we'd have never found ourselves. That's the essence of conversational grace. To make others feel you're sharing something, not showing something. 11. The graceful exit. In old money circles, leaving a dinner party is almost as important as attending it. The truly polished never vanish abruptly or linger awkwardly. They know when the evening has reached its natural close, often signaled by the host's subtle cues, like standing or offering coffee in a separate room. When the moment comes, they rise quietly, thank the host sincerely, and avoid long goodbyes. Thank you for such a lovely evening. Your table always feels like home. They don't overstay, they don't talk over others' departures, and they never make it about themselves. It's graceful, poised, and leaves an impression of quiet dignity. Your dinner was such a joy. The conversation was as exquisite as the company. It's not flattery, it's courtesy. And courtesy in their world is the purest form of refinement. 12. Why social grace is the true luxury. At the heart of it all, dinner conversations among the wealthy aren't about status. They're about subtle mastery of self. Social grace is the invisible fabric that holds their world together. It's what allows them to move through different circles, the political, artistic, financial, without friction. Because in truth, grace is the great equalizer. It's not inherited wealth or titles or fame. It's behavior. It's knowing that refinement has nothing to do with what you own and everything to do with how you make others feel. That's why, even today, finishing schools for the elite still teach conversation as an art form. They don't just teach what to say, they teach when to speak, when to pause, and when silence says the most. The lesson passed down through generations remains the same. Listen with intention. Leave others feeling valued, not impressed. Because when the candles burn low and the last sip of wine is gone, no one remembers your watch, your dress, or the price of your home. They remember how they felt in your presence. So when you next find yourself at a dinner, whether it's a grand affair or a simple gathering, grace isn't about performing. It's about being effortlessly kind, confident, and attentive.